morning. Ooh, it always takes me a second to get things situated here. Wow, with this camera going this way, shows more of my messy office, which we should maybe clean up sometime. But good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing great. It's time for our Friday masterclass. I've gotten to started calling them instead of live video, because it's not just a live video. It's just so much valuable information is happening and trainings in these weekend trainings. So I don't know what Hayden's doing. Oh, my earphones. Yes. Okay. Let me get. And good morning. As you come on, feel free to say hi so I can see who's here. Hayden's over on the Facebook page. This week we're talking about your ideal customer, and several of you said you have downloaded the worksheet and gone through the training and attempted, made some progress on that. Oh, really? Oops. Okay, there. Now, can you hear me? Several of you have said that you downloaded the worksheet and have gone through the training and made some progress on identifying your ideal customer. And Hayden's going to post the link here. So if you missed that blog post earlier this week, the training is really valuable. I can tell you this, if you skip this step, if you think, oh, Sarah, yay, hi, good, I'm glad you can hear. Welcome. If you think that you can skip this step and you're just going to listen to some of my other videos and do that, you will not have a profitable farm. It's that important. It's the missing link in people's marketing is they don't know who they're marketing to. So if I asked you, well, who are you selling to? And you just say, oh, people with money who want farm fresh food, that's not going to work. All your marketing efforts will fall flat. People won't connect with you and it won't make sense to them. So welcome everyone. Hayden's got the links to that blog post earlier. If you missed it early this week, do the training. You can ask questions. I've prepared a few things to talk about. And hey, Julia, we are freezing here in Oregon. We're having unusually cold weather that we only get every 3 or 4 years. It's like 18 degrees right now, which may not sound too cold to most of you or some of you, but it is to us. We have to leave water running everywhere because our pipes aren't meant for this kind of weather. But anywho, we're just trying to keep warm here. So today's post all about now that you've identified your ideal customer, then what? What's next? How do you use that? First of all, I'm going to share a story. I'm going to tell you a story about how it works for me. I'm going to give you some examples out in the real world, because the more you spend time identifying how other people are marketing to their ideal customer, and the more you start to notice that, the more it helps you too. But before you create your website, I've seen some discussion in the group this week of people wanting to do labels and wanting to do taglines for their farm. Before you do all those things, you need to spend some time doing these worksheets, doing the trainings, and identifying your ideal customer, or that won't work, or you'll spend some money printing up all these labels, and you'll realize in 6 months when you do identify your ideal customer that you have to redo it all anyway. So this is a very important first step. Now we're offering this 3-part series over the next 3 weeks because we're leading up to opening our course for registration again on January 24th. And if you're listening to this video in the future, I teach it twice a year. But doing this work now will help you come to the course more prepared for bigger, deeper, broader success. And by success, I mean, finally making some money on your farm, being able to pay the bills, being able to hire some help, being able to do those things that take you to the next step and get you from, working 18-hour days, 7 days a week. So let me tell you a little story about the ideal customer. So my son is in the Marine Corps, and he's deployed right now. He's on a 9-month deployment overseas. But a year and a half ago, he graduated high school, and he went from a 19-year-old boy that I was sitting down at the table with every night, desperately like holding his hand, trying to get him to pass math and English so he could get his diploma and move on with his life. And he was getting in trouble for coming in at all hours of the morning because it was his senior year. And he went from this 19-year-old boy getting in trouble, not doing dishes, to graduating and taking off to Marine Corps boot camp. And if any of you are parents of Marines or other warriors or soldiers, boot camp, the Marine Corps boot camp is the longest one. It's 13 weeks, and there's no communication with the outside world whatsoever. So 13 weeks, he had no video, no phone, no internet, no texting, no Facebook, no news. They knew nothing of what was going on. The only thing they were allowed was about 3 or 4 weeks in, we could write them letters. And sometimes even the letters would be monitored. They would look through them and what's that called? When they look through your letters. Yeah, we know the word, can't think of it. So that was our only, so it went from this little boy holding his hand, getting him to graduate high school, to this man that's going through living hell. Because if you've seen videos of boot camp, I don't know why anyone in their right mind would sign up for that. And, us mothers, we don't have babies to send them off to war. That wasn't in my plan. But here he is for 13 weeks. He's gone. I can't talk to him. So I write him letters. And I wrote the letters based on what I knew about my son. I knew 19-year-old boys really well, inside and out. I knew their interests. I knew the words he used. I knew the slang he used. I knew the bad words he used. I knew the movies he was interested in. He would have his friends over every night traipsing through the house, so I would hear 4 or 5 of them talking, laughing. I would see what they're laughing at and what they're saying about people and what stories interested them. So I had this study of, I knew 19-year-old boys inside and out, like I think most parents do if you have one. And so writing him letters was very different than if I had been writing my 23-year-old daughter letters. What I wrote about were and the story is going somewhere, so hang in there. I wrote about, well, first of all, I gave him encouragement. This is the toughest decision you've ever made, the toughest thing you've ever done in your life. Hang in there. In 13 weeks, you'll be a United States Marine. Oorah! I gave him some cheerleading. And then I'd say, he wanted little bits of news I knew he didn't be interested in from the farm. So talked about the drought and equipment breaking down and cows getting out and some stories he'd be interested in. And I told him about funny movies we'd seen that he'd be interested in. And then I told him I ran into one of his friends, and I was like, oh, be so glad that you made this decision. And you're at the Marine Corps boot camp, getting on with your life. You're going to be a Marine in 13 weeks. And your friend I ran into, he's still going to be living at home with his mom in 4 years. When you get out and have a career, he'll be still working at the local grocery store. So that was my letters through this 13 weeks. And the coolest thing, when my son got out and he was on leave, he said to me that my letters, he said they were the best letters in boot camp. And now there's 600 guys there. And he said when my letters came, he would read them, and then every single one of the guys in his platoon would pass my letter around and read it. And I had no idea this was going on until afterwards. And it was just a great gift to me to know that I'd given him this gift, because when your kid's in the military, there's really nothing you can give them. You want to, as a parent, you want to give them stuff because they're going through hard times, but you can't. So the fact that I had given him this letter that meant so much to him and made hundreds of other boys happy in a time of great depression often was just the coolest thing. And it was because I wrote to him with only him in mind. I wrote to him about his interests, his values, his language, his activities, his beliefs. I took myself out of it. It didn't matter what I was doing all day or what I was interested in or the shopping trip or the movie I had seen with my husband that we were interested in. All that mattered was what he was interested in. And that connected with 600 other 19-year-old men without me even knowing. And in that moment, I was grateful. And it was after that that I realized I do the exact same thing in my business. And it's exactly what I'm teaching you about your ideal customer. So I'm hoping by sharing that story, maybe that will give you the impetus you need to go through these exercises, because when you define the one very specific person that you are writing your emails to and your blog posts and your signs at the farmer's market and any communication you have, when you're writing to this one person that you've identified her values, her beliefs, her activities, the books she reads, the movies she sees, how much money she makes, you will connect with her, and not only her, you will connect with thousands of other people just like her. And if they don't connect with you because you're writing very specific things, mine was very specific things to 19-year-old boys, so 40-year-old women would not connect with those things I wrote, but all the 19-year-old boys did. So when you do that on your farm and your communication is to this one very specific person, you will reach thousands of people. They will connect with you. They believe in what you do, and they can't wait to buy from you and support you. And they will drive out of their way to get to you if you're several hours away. So that's why this is so important. And until you do this first step, it's really hard to go skip this step and create your website or create your blog posts or create your marketing materials or even put up your Facebook posts. Most of the farm's Facebook posts I look at are, hey everybody, we're butchering hogs, we're butchering chickens. It's a picture of a raw chicken breast, which is the ugliest thing. Take a picture of a raw chicken breast and look at it. It's just gross. Why would you put that on your Facebook page? But when you're putting Facebook posts up with things that your one very specific ideal customer is interested in, you will have people driving to your farm and saying, oh, I saw you on Facebook because you connected to them. Okay, so hopefully this is making sense. And if you look at my farm blog posts on Shampooey Creamery, and I don't want to use me as an example all the time, so I'll switch away from that. But my blog posts are obviously written to women who are married and have children and cook and make a certain amount of money and have certain interests, and they're written to that very specific person. And if someone is repelled by what I write and they unsubscribe, that's okay, because I will never reach them anyway. The more narrowly I define my ideal customer, the more people I will reach. All right, so now, I had this one person, but I just remembered the information I was going to share with you is on my phone, which I'm using for the video, so I'm going to pull it up. And it's this person I follow. Well, I did more in the past, and I don't so much anymore. And I want to give you an example of a blog post she put up. She does screenwriting and copywriting, and she's helped me with copywriting in the past. And her latest blog post, it's so different than my blog post, which is why I want to show you as soon as my internet comes up here. It's very slow with all these things going on. So let me see if I have another one. Okay, while that one's coming up, I'm going to share with you another one. Have you heard, and these are from outside the farming industry, because honestly, farmers don't do this very well yet. We do have our graduates in our class who are finally having success with this, and that's great, but I want to show you that this applies to all industries. There's a little newsletter I get every single day, maybe 5 days a week. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called Skimm, Skimm, the Skimm. And it's written by two young ladies. I think they're around 30 right now. And they're journalists, and they were in the journalism industry. And what they realized is their friends who are in their 20s and early 30s were coming to them and saying, hey, I need, tell me the 3 top things in the news I need to know today so I don't look like an idiot in my meeting with my boss. What's going on? And they realized that more people could use this. Young women, they're on their phones all the time. They aren't picking up newspapers and magazines and getting their news from those places. They didn't have a place where they could just get this little, skim of what's going on in the world. So they started this newsletter, and it goes to millions of people now. They're making so much money, and it's just like the top 5 news stories of the day, and it's obviously written to young women who are in their 20s and early 30s. their logo is this kind of chic woman in pumps and pearls and holding her iPhone. And it's using language that 20, 30 something year old women would use. And it's a short synopsis of the news. So when you, and my husband hates that newsletter. He won't read it. He goes to the Drudge Report, which I hate. So the Drudge Report is written for him. This Skim newsletter is appealing to their ideal customer. And it's perfect example of what I'm talking about. And then I want to use another one. Oh, this isn't coming up.
I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, it's, oh no, I got it. Okay, so the other one I got to show you is called, it's Melissa Cassera. She's a copywriter and a screenwriter. And she wrote a blog post today. And I don't really follow her anymore because she doesn't connect with me, and you'll see why. And it's called 50 Shades of Everything Day. FSOED is a semi-annual tradition, her blog post says. I'm reading it to you. I get together with two of my bestest girlfriends. We watch the latest 50 Shades of Grey movie. We squeal with glee at all the steamy scenes. We toss popcorn into our mouths and gape at the big screen. Then we get foot massages, go out for dinner, devour mushroom pesto ravioli, and discuss all of our feelings about the movie. This takes several hours, obviously. So that is a very specifically written paragraph that she didn't just wake up and write that because she did that last night. She wrote that with her ideal customer in mind. And what you can tell about her ideal customer, and the reason it's not me anymore, is number one, they might be married, but they don't have children. If they have hours to spend watching 50 Shades of Grey with other girlfriends, getting foot massages, for one thing, I can't really eat mushroom pesto ravioli anymore at this age. I could have when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I have to cook dinner for my family every night, so I can't take the night and do this. So I am not her ideal customer. And so I unsubscribed from her newsletters a few years ago. But every once in a while I check in to see what she's doing because she is a good writer. But reading that paragraph I just read to you, that is written to a very specific person, and I want your emails and blog posts to be that specific. And if she turns somebody off because she says she watched the 50 Shades of Grey movie and they unsubscribe, that's great. Same with your farm. If you turn somebody off because of the values you talk about and they go the other way, that's great. You cannot everyone cannot be your ideal customer, and you don't want everyone as your ideal customer. You want one very specific person. So that was two examples. And then I want to go over a question here that Graham Donahue asked. He went through the worksheet, and don't know if you're on here, Graham. If you are, otherwise you'll listen to it later. But you asked, how detailed does my customer profile need to be? On the same note, what are some questions I should ask in order to glean this information? So there are all kinds of questions. We had some in the download, but also in the course, we go in way deeper. You want to be careful about overwhelming someone. If you send them an email with 20 questions, they don't have time for that. But ask 2 or 3 questions of people. And then you asked also, why does the ideal customer need to be so specific in regards to age, income, children? Hopefully I just answered that with my 3 examples. Number 1, my son writing Marine Corps boot camp letters to one 19-year-old boy appealed to hundreds of boys, and it just made their day, made their life much easier for that 13 weeks. Wouldn't you love to have that experience on your farm? The Skim is writing to 20, 30-year-old women of a certain income level, and Melissa Cassera writing to women with certain interests, 50 Shades of Grey movie, going out for pasta and foot massages and getting together with their girlfriends for hours on end. That's a very specific type of person. So Graham, I hope that helps you realize why you need to know the very specific details. When you read some of my blog posts, I refer to all kinds of specific values and things, knowing the socioeconomic level of your ideal customer helps you make decisions. Am I going to write tons and tons of blog posts on the cheap cuts of meat? No, because I'm not going to have a profitable farm if that's all I focus on. And I know that my ideal customer is of a level where she can be buying filet mignon once in a while and a nice steak once in a while, and hamburger and liver is kind of a once a year thing when she decides she needs to be healthier, So
Knowing the income level helps you make decisions on what to write about. Also, knowing all these details of your ideal customer helps you know when to let go of someone. So I had someone recently, kind of a touchy subject, that I unsubscribed him. And I have a lot of Jewish customers who buy our meats and Christian customers both. And the Jewish customers do not buy pork, some of them. Some of them do. Some of them say they're Jewish, but they eat bacon, which is probably like being vegetarian but eating bacon. But anyway, they respect that I write about pork once in a while, and my ideal customer respects that I'm going to write about something once in a while that they may not necessarily buy, and that's okay. They let me get away with it. Well, this other gentleman kept sending me responses to my blog posts of Bible quotes where he says, Caucasians, you're sinning if you eat pork, and they were very negative, and he was attacking me. And it was so easy to say, you know what, you're not, I didn't say this out loud to him. I said it to Hayden. He's not our ideal customer. He's attacking us, and he has no room in his life for other people's beliefs, and I'm unsubscribing him. So that's a very drastic case. There are other people I unsubscribe when I realize they are never going to be our ideal customer. And knowing who that is allows you to let them go and say, oh, that's okay. They aren't my ideal customer anyway. And it allows you to refocus on who that is. Okay, so I've just given you tons of information like usual. I feel like it's a whole lot of, these are things we spend hours on in our course. But if you have questions, ask them. And I think there were a couple comments that I'm going to go over, in the meantime. So, sorry, trying to get my computer up to the questions here. If you have questions, put them in there. Hayden will let me know what they are. And then, so Pam Cornelius, who's in the group, and if you're not on now, I know you'll watch this later. She says, my ideal customer is a man or woman, any age, that has educated themselves on natural health and has an understanding of the benefits of raw milk. So I would just suggest to Pam, which you guys can probably figure out I'm going to say already, she says man or woman, any age. You need to get more specific than that. You can't write an email to a man or woman of any age and be appealing to anybody. That's too general. So if you have both men and women that shop at your farm or buy your farm products, just choose one. Now, the more specific you get, remember, the more broader people you will attract. So men will still be attracted to your products, even if you're writing your marketing materials to women. So choose men or women, and choose an age. Choose an age range, like maybe a 10-year range. And again, if you choose a range of 25 to 35, you're still going to have 75-year-old people who read your marketing materials and are attracted to that and want to buy from you because you've been so specific and narrow. So the more narrow and specific you get, the broader group of people you will attract. It doesn't seem to make logical sense, but it works. It's true. The more narrow focus you are, the more broader appeal you have. I'll just say that over and over again until you finally go, aha, I get it. Lori Hernandez, who's a graduate of our beginning course and will be taking it again in February, she says her ideal customer, remember she's already been through the course, is a real person. So she based it on a real person. It could be real, it could be you, it could be some combination of things you like in certain people and things you make up that you wish your ideal customer reflected. So hers is a real person, runs her own business. And Lori asked her, she was very upfront when we were going through the course. I encourage you to just ask people if you could sit down with them or email. She got on Facebook Messenger. She found her ideal customer was very flattered when Lori said, I wish all my customers were just like you. Can I ask you some questions? So the lady was flattered and was very happy to talk to Lori and answer the questions that we have a long list of questions that elicit different information from your ideal customer. And then I suggested too, when you sit down with these people, give them something, give them a gift, give them a chicken or two, give them a chicken for themselves and tell them to give a chicken to someone they know who would appreciate it. So give them something for spending that time with you. Yay, I'm glad people are liking all this. So let's see, what other comments did we have? Crystal Powers. She said, our ideal customer is a woman, 25 to 35, with young children. So based on our conversation today, that right there tells you that Crystal's emails and marketing materials and blog posts, you know, when you think of they're geared towards a woman 25 to 35 with young children, what's on her mind? You know, child things or play groups and diapers, and those are the things she's going to reference in her blog post, not foot massages, because no young mother of young children has time for foot massages and going out for hours with her girlfriends. She's not going to reference those things. She's going to reference things that a young, busy mom is interested in, you know, up all night, 2 nights a week, and all those things that I don't talk about in my blog post because my ideal customer is 45 and her children are older. I'm not writing about the diaper stage anymore, but Crystal Powers is going to reference things like that in her blog posts and emails on her farm, which will make her farm stand out from other farms, and it will make these women want to drive out to her farm because she gets them and they feel like she gets them. So she's on a time crunch. I'm still reading Crystal Powers' description. She enjoys cooking, being outdoors, and being able to incorporate the family in those activities. So Crystal is going to talk about going on a short hike. Maybe if she had a blog post on a hike she discovered in her area that's only 2 miles long, someone with young children could do that and would be like, wow, we want to come shop from you because you really understand us and we share similar values. So I hope you're seeing how you can use this ideal customer in your marketing. And Crystal Powers went on to talk about how she is politically active and social justice issues are important, and she's willing to go the extra mile to support those who share her beliefs. So that seems really detailed about an ideal customer, but that is important to know. And you only get this information by connecting with someone one-on-one. Graham, you also said that you were really busy and you find it hard to make time for this. Well, do it by email, do it by phone, Facebook Messenger, go where these people are hanging out. You have to make time for it, though. I mean, bottom line, you have to make time for it if you're going to have a profitable farm. When I first, the first 3 years I've been in business 7, going on 8 years, the first 3 years, I talked in all sorts of community settings, the library and food groups and book clubs, and anyone who wanted me to share about what I was doing or give a farm tour, I did, just so I could get around these people that I might not come across. They weren't already coming to the farm, and I didn't go out to a job every day because my job is here. So I did everything I could to get out in the community and get in front of these people, writing blog posts, writing opinion pieces, having the newspaper do articles on us, so that I could meet these people. And this is not something that happens overnight. It takes years to make a profitable farm. The sooner you start doing this, the better. So you've got to get in touch with as many of these people as possible. I still do this 7 years later. I still go out to lunch once a week, once a year at least, with my ideal customer, and I update the description. And I think I said all that in the training and the blog post too. So study those things. This is not something that's once and done. I study this stuff and update it all the time, and it makes a huge difference. It means that I can write a blog post every 2 weeks, go to bed, and wake up to $6,000 in sales because I am very specifically connecting with my ideal customer. So it's a difference between being able to have a profitable farm and pay the bills and get some help and going out of business like most farms do. So don't let that be you. All right. Did I miss anything? Okay. I think I got it all. We have another great training coming out next week, and the live video will be based on that. If you have any more questions on this, feel free to jump in the group. Remember, we go deeper into the course. So when you have all that training chronological and it's batched, and it makes much more sense than just popping into a Facebook group for a 10 minutes of a video. So it's important to spend the time focusing on it all at once. And I do what I can here in the group too. So thanks for all your likes, and thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate that you let me take up some of your valuable time. And I will talk to you soon and see you in the Facebook group, and have a great weekend too.